The morning light streams through my bedroom window as I click the login button, heart pounding with anticipation. Today is my 18th birthday, and for the first time, I can access my college savings account without mom or dad hovering over my shoulder. 6 years of sacrifice about to pay off. 6 years of Friday nights spent serving greasy burgers to classmates celebrating without me. 6 years of maybe next time, when friends invited me anywhere that cost money. The page loads. I blink, thinking it's a mistake. I refresh the screen. $0.00. My fingers shake as I type the account number again, triple-checking every digit. The result remains the same. Nothing but emptiness where my future should be. That can't be right, I whisper to the screen. The wooden stairs creak under my feet as I make my slow descent. Each step feels heavier than the last, like walking through water. Through the kitchen doorway, I see them. Mom and Dad sitting at the table with untouched coffee mugs. Their postures are stiff, rehearsed. They've been waiting for me. The kitchen smells like cinnamon rolls, my birthday tradition. But the scent turns my stomach now. Dad clears his throat, not quite meeting my eyes. Madeline, we need to talk about your savings account. Mom's eyes are red-rimmed. Her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles shine white against her skin. What happened to my money? My voice sounds foreign to my own ears, too calm, too controlled for the storm building inside me. Dad shifts in his chair. Your brother needed a fresh start after rehab, with the baby coming and everything. We had to help him. Mom cuts in, a tear sliding down her cheek. Brandon needed a stable home for his new family. You gave him my college fund? The words taste like metal in my mouth. We used your savings to help with the down payment on Brandon's house. Dad confirms, his voice taking on that familiar tone he uses when he's decided something is non-negotiable. $14,000 goes a long way toward getting your brother back on his feet. A movement in the doorway catches my eye. Brandon leans against the frame, arms crossed over his chest. His smirk makes my blood run cold. Thanks for helping us out, sis, he says with a casual shrug. Real lifesaver. Memories flash through my mind. 16 years old, rushing from school to make my diner shift. The worn leather notebook Grandpa gave me where I tracked every penny earned. The pride in his eyes when I showed him my growing savings. The ritual of handing my paychecks to Mom and Dad each month, trusting them to keep my future safe. You have that scholarship, Mom says, wiping her tears with a tissue. You don't need this money like Brandon does. What about textbooks, rent, food? My voice rises despite my effort to stay composed. Dad waves his hand dismissively. You can get student loans like everyone else. Brandon has a child on the way. You're just going to college. Just going to college, the words echo in my head. Just the thing I've worked toward since I was 12. Family helps family when they're in need, Mom adds, reaching for my hand. I pull away before she can touch me. A strange calm settles over me. The betrayal is so complete, so absolute, that it crystallizes something inside me. I won't cry. I won't beg. I won't explain to them the value of what they've stolen. Was any of this money ever really mine? I ask quietly. Their silence is my answer. I turn without another word and climb back up the stairs to my bedroom. The posters on my walls and the books on my shelves suddenly look like they belong to someone else. A girl who believed her parents were on her side. From my closet, I pull out the large suitcase Grandma gave me for graduation. I pack methodically, clothes, toiletries, the few keepsakes that matter. My hands move with purpose while my mind races ahead. Campus housing doesn't open for 3 more weeks, but I know I can't stay here another night. I zip the suitcase closed with finality. Everything I've worked for has been taken by the very people who were supposed to protect me, supposed to teach me right from wrong. What would you do if everything you'd worked for was taken from you by the very people meant to protect you? Would you fight back or walk away? I choose option 3. I will rebuild without them. And I will never, ever forget this lesson. My dorm room measures exactly 12 feet by 9 feet. I know because I paced it off the day I arrived, 3 weeks early with nowhere else to go. The cinder block walls are institutional beige, but I've left them bare except for a single framed photograph of Grandma and Grandpa on graduation day. Their eyes follow me around the room, proud, expectant. I won't ask for a single penny. I whisper to their photograph each morning. A vow leaves my spine straight when doubt creeps in. The university library sits like a stone cathedral at the heart of campus, all marble columns and echoing halls. Mrs. Abernathy peers at me over reading glasses perched on her hawkish nose. You have no previous library experience, she states, reviewing my application. No, ma'am, but I've worked since I was 16. Never missed a shift. My hands stay perfectly still in my lap, though my future hangs in the balance. I learn systems quickly. She studies my face. The morning shift starts at 5 a.m. I'll be here at 4:45. 2 days later, I'm memorizing the Dewey Decimal System, while most students are still sleeping off welcome week parties. By midterms, my routine is military precise. Classes, library shifts, study hours blocked in 15-minute increments. No wasted time, no wasted dollars. I'm restocking periodicals when I spot them Brandon and a very pregnant Tiffany, strolling through the mall's center court. My brother's arm drapes casually around his girlfriend's shoulders as they pause before a display of $800 strollers. I duck behind a pillar, pulse hammering in my throat. This one matches the nursery perfectly, Tiffany squeals, running her fingers along the leather handle. Brandon laughs. Why not? The house my sister bought us should have a stroller to match. The periodical in my hands crumples before I realize I'm crushing it. The house my sister bought. Like it was a gift freely given instead of stolen outright. That night, a notification from Mom pops up on my muted Facebook page. She's tagged me in a photo album titled Nursery Makeover. With trembling fingers, I swipe through images of my childhood bedroom. The walls, once pale blue, now gleam sunshine yellow. My bookshelf has vanished, replaced by a white crib draped in a custom canopy. My chest tightens at the final photo, Mom and Dad beaming beside Brandon and Tiffany, champagne glasses raised in toast. The caption reads, "So grateful for our Madeline's generous heart. Family takes care of family. Proud parents." I close the app and block them all in one motion. 2 weeks later, Mrs. Patterson, my mother's oldest friend, stops me outside the campus coffee shop. Her eyes widen with recognition. Madeline, your mother tells everyone how you gave your college fund to help Brandon with his fresh start. She pats my arm. Such a selfless girl. Your parents raised you right. My smile feels carved from stone. How nice of them to say so. The holidays arrive with Mom's voice on my voicemail. Sweetheart, we miss you so much. Just call to let us know you're okay. I call exactly once on Christmas Eve. The conversation lasts 7 minutes. Yes, classes are fine. No, I don't need anything. Yes, the dorm is comfortable. No, I can't make it home, too much work. We thought maybe you could contribute to the family gift exchange this year, Dad suggests. Nothing big, just token presents. I'm afraid that's not in my budget, I reply. Voice pleasant as pond ice. Give everyone my love. I spend Christmas Day with my roommate Julia and her boisterous Italian family, who ask no questions when I show up with a small suitcase and eyes that blink too rapidly. Professor Winters notices me staying late after economic theory lectures, working through extra problems. You have a remarkable aptitude for financial systems, she comments one evening, pausing by my desk. Thank you. I've had practice. She becomes the first person I tell my story to, over coffee in her cluttered office. The next week, she introduces me to Dr. Sandoval, the scholarship coordinator. There's a mid-year grant for students demonstrating exceptional financial need and academic merit, Dr. Sandoval explains, sliding a form across his desk. The application deadline is tomorrow. Lucky Professor Winters mentioned you today. Luck had nothing to do with it. The elderly landlady of the off-campus house where I find a tiny room seems to see straight through me. Mrs. Chen peers at my rental application, tapping her cane thoughtfully. Full-time student with 2 jobs? When do you sleep, girl? Whenever necessary, I answer honestly. She nods once. Rent's $300, but I'll make it $225 if you shovel the walk in winter and help me with groceries. My arthritis makes carrying bags a misery. I move in that weekend. My first library paycheck feels sacred in my hands. At the credit union just off campus, I open an account in my name only. No parents as co-signers, no shared access. Would you like to set up a savings account as well? The banker asks. Yes. I push $40 across the counter, exactly 20% of my earnings. This goes into emergency savings. Every paycheck. 18 months later, that account holds $2,412.78. Not enough for a crisis, but enough that I sleep without dreaming of empty bank accounts. My phone buzzes with Mom's monthly check-in call. Brandon has totaled his second car. The baby needs special formula insurance won't cover. Dad's hours got cut at work. I listen politely, offer sympathy, and never once reach for my wallet. My refrigerator holds exactly what I need for the week, no more, no less. My clothes are clean, if not fashionable. My textbooks are purchased, used, or borrowed from the library's reserve section. I never owe anyone anything. Meanwhile, Brandon posts photos of his new gaming system, then asks relatives to contribute to a GoFundMe for Tiffany's car repairs. Some nights, lying on my narrow bed beneath Mrs. Chen's handmade quilt, I wonder if rebuilding from scratch has changed me too fundamentally, made me too hard, too careful. But then I look at my bank statement with its steady growth, at my perfect GPA, at the small circle of friends who know my true worth, and I recognize something my family never taught me. Independence, once earned, is too precious to surrender. My phone buzzes across the library desk, interrupting the perfect silence of finals week. I ignore it. The economics textbook in front of me demands my full attention. Professor Larson's exam is legendary for its complexity, and I need this A to maintain my scholarship. The phone buzzes again and again. I flip it over, ready to silence it completely, when I see Mom's name flashing across the screen. She hasn't called in months, not since I declined their Thanksgiving invitation. My stomach tightens as I answer. Madeline? Her voice breaks on the second syllable of my name. Oh God, Madeline. What's wrong? I step outside the library, winter air stinging my face. It's Brandon and Tiffany. She's crying so hard I can barely make out her words. They're gone, and they left. They left. Left what? The old familiar dread rises in my chest. More money needed? Another rehab center? Luca, she finally manages. They left Luca on our doorstep with a note. Your brother and Tiffany just drove off. They left their baby with us. 3-year-old Luca. My nephew, whom I've only seen in the handful of Facebook photos Mom still tags me in. The innocent child who sleeps in what was once my bedroom, in the house my money helped buy. I'll be there in 2 hours, I hear myself say, already calculating how many finals I'll need to reschedule. The toys scattered across the living room floor are the first thing I notice. Plastic trucks and stuffed animals create an obstacle course in a space that once showcased Mom's decorative pillows and Dad's sports memorabilia. The house smells different to peanut butter and apple juice instead of Mom's potpourri. Dad stands in the kitchen doorway, coffee mug clutched in his hand. 2 years have carved deep lines around his eyes and mouth. His shoulders stoop forward as if carrying an invisible weight. Madeline, he says, my name sounding strange in his mouth after so long. Mom appears behind him, hair hastily pulled back, eyes puffy and rimmed with red. Thank God you're here, she whispers, moving toward me as if to hug me, then stopping short when I shift my weight backward. A small voice calls from the living room. Gamma? Juice? I step around my parents and see him for the first time in person. Dark curls like Brandon's, but Tiffany's blue eyes. Luca sits on the floor in dinosaur pajamas, little fingers working to stack blocks that keep toppling over. He looks up at me, unafraid of this stranger in his grandparents' house. Hi, he says simply. Hi, Luca, I reply, my voice softening without my permission. I'm your Aunt Madeline. They never really got clean. Dad's confession comes after Luca has finally fallen asleep on the couch, thumb tucked in his mouth. We thought the house would give them stability, but we've been helping them financially, Mom adds, not meeting my eyes. Paying their utilities when they couldn't. Buying groceries. You mean when they spent their money on drugs instead? I say, the words flat and hard. Mom flinches but doesn't deny it. She pulls a crumpled note from her pocket and hands it to me. Tiffany's looping handwriting sprawls across the page. We can't do this anymore. Luca deserves better. Tell Madeline she was right about everything. She should raise him. She's the only one who has her life together. Don't try to find us. The note trembles in my hand. You knew, I say, looking between them. You knew all along Brandon hadn't changed, and you kept giving them money anyway. He's our son, Dad says, as if that explains everything. I walk to the window, watching snow begin to fall outside. And I'm your daughter. That didn't stop you from taking everything I worked for. The silence that follows is heavy with unspoken guilt. It would just be temporary, Mom says over breakfast the next morning, her voice carefully casual. Until we figure something out. What would be temporary, I ask, though I already know. You moving back home. She stirs her coffee, not looking up. Family responsibility comes first, especially with a child involved. Dad clears his throat. You could transfer to the community college, or take a semester off. Luca needs family right now. I watch Luca across the table, happily smashing banana into his mouth. None of this is his fault. He's just a child abandoned by parents who couldn't overcome their demons. What your grandparents would expect, Mom adds softly, playing her strongest card. They always taught us that blood is thicker than water. My scholarship, my carefully planned course schedule, the library job that pays my rent, the life I've built from nothing after they left me with nothing. All of it sacrificed for Brandon's mistakes. Again. That night, Luca wakes crying from a nightmare. I reach him before my parents, lifting his small body from the makeshift bed on the couch. Mama, he whimpers, his tears soaking into my shoulder. Shh, you're safe, I whisper, rocking him gently. I've got you. He falls back asleep against me, his breathing deep and even. I stand by the window, watching the streetlights illuminate falling snow, and think about the economics final I'm missing tomorrow morning. I love this child, this blameless boy who shares my blood but not my wounds. But I also love the future I've fought for, the independence that cost me everything to gain. Dawn breaks across the snow-covered yard as clarity settles over me like a blanket. I know exactly what I need to do. I've made a decision. I announce the next morning, my voice steady as I place my coffee mug on the table. My parents look up, hope in their eyes that quickly fades as they register my expression. I won't be moving back home or dropping out of school. I meet their gaze directly. That wouldn't solve anything. It would just create a new cycle of resentment. But Luca, Mom begins, needs stability and proper care. I finish for her, which is why I've researched the appropriate legal channels. Child Protective Services can help establish temporary guardianship while ensuring Luca's needs are met. Dad's face darkens. You're calling the authorities on your own family? I'm ensuring my nephew gets the support he deserves. I pull out my phone. You can apply to be his legal guardians. I'll provide whatever character references you need. I'll visit regularly and help financially when I can, but I won't sacrifice my future because Brandon and Tiffany couldn't face theirs. Mom begins to cry, but I see something in Dad's eyes, a reluctant respect perhaps. I dial the number I researched last night, while Luca slept in my arms. This is the right thing to do, I say, as much to myself as to them. For all of us. The manila folder in my hands contains everything I've gathered about our situation. Bank statements, employment records, medical reports. I've labeled each section with color code tabs. Preparation has always been my shield. This is impressive. Miss Vargas, the CPS caseworker, flips through the pages, her expression neutral but her eyes sharp. We sit in her cramped office surrounded by filing cabinets and framed credentials. The scent of burnt coffee lingers in the air. Luca needs stability, I say, keeping my voice level despite the tightness in my chest. My parents can provide that with proper support. I've outlined what I can realistically offer: weekend visits, emergency backup care, contribution to a proper savings account for his future education. Miss Vargas studies my face. And your education? Won't be interrupted. My knuckles whiten around my coffee cup. I've worked too hard to abandon it now. She nods, understanding in her eyes. Many people in your position would drop everything. That wouldn't serve anyone in the long run. The words taste like truth and guilt mixed together. Dad's voice booms through my cell phone speaker as I walk across campus. You're breaking up this family. Your mother hasn't stopped crying since your meeting with that woman. I dodge a student on a skateboard, tucking the phone closer to my ear. I'm trying to make sure Luca gets what he needs without sacrificing everything I've worked for. Family comes first, Madeline. Always. The hypocrisy stings like winter air against bare skin. Like when you put Brandon first, or was that different? His silence says everything. That night, Mom leaves 3 tearful voicemails. The next day, Aunt Carol texts that I should be ashamed. Uncle Rick calls to remind me that family sticks together. None of them mention the money that was taken from me. Through my apartment window, I watch a cardinal land on a snow-covered branch. Red against white, so vivid it hurts my eyes. I let the calls go to voicemail. Mrs. Hernandez, my high school counselor, signs her name with a flourish on the statement of support. I've known this family for years, she says, sliding the paper across her desk. Your parents mean well, but they've always had blind spots where Brandon is concerned. Thank you, my voice catches. Her hand covers mine briefly. You're doing the right thing, setting clear boundaries. Some people only respect what they can't walk over. The university dean grants me flexibility for assignments during this crisis. My roommate's father, a family law attorney, reviews the guardianship paperwork pro bono. My library supervisor rearranges my schedule to accommodate court dates. A network forms around me, people who see my worth without demanding I set myself on fire to keep others warm. Mom spreads bank statements across their kitchen table. The sight of this room still triggers the memory of my birthday betrayal, but I push it away. We have more urgent matters. Without Brandon's house payment, we can just make ends meet, she says, circles under her eyes testifying to sleepless nights. But there's nothing extra for Luca's daycare. You could rent the house, I suggest, pointing to local rental rates I've researched. That income would cover childcare and start building a fund for his future needs. Dad's shoulders slump, defeat etched in the new lines around his mouth. We never thought we'd be raising another child at our age. Yet, here we are. I keep my tone businesslike as I outline a budget. This isn't about what any of us planned, it's about what Luca needs now. As reality sinks in, the atmosphere shifts. My parents begin looking at me not as their daughter to be directed, but as an adult with valuable insight. The power balance tilts, almost imperceptibly at first, then unmistakably. Twilight paints the backyard in blues and purples. Dad joins me on the porch steps where I sit watching Luca chase fireflies. For several minutes, we share the silence. We failed both of our children, he finally says, the admission visibly painful. Brandon with too much protection, you with too little. The words unlock something in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but acknowledgement. Your intentions weren't bad. Intentions don't matter much in the end, do they? He rubs his palms on his knees. Results do. Mom appears in the doorway, her face tear-streaked but calm. We enabled Brandon for years, gave him everything, fixed every mess. Her voice breaks. Look where that got him. Look where it got us all. Luca runs to me, tiny hands full of grass and dandelion fluff. I lift him on my lap, his weight solid and warm. You can start doing better now, I tell them, with Luca. In my nephew's innocent eyes, I see a chance for my parents to learn what true support means, not erasing consequences or sacrificing one person for another, but building foundations strong enough to weather life's storms. For the first time, I see respect in their eyes when they look at me, not just as someone who will clean up family messes, but as someone whose wisdom they need. Some lessons come at terrible cost. The trick making sure you only have to pay for them once. The front door slams against the wall. Brandon stands in the doorway, his silhouette blocking the afternoon sun. 6 months of absence haven't improved him. His cheeks are hollowed, eyes darting like a cornered animal's conition. Where's my son? His voice carries the familiar rasp of someone who still smokes too much. Dad rises from his armchair, remote control forgotten in his hand. Mom freezes mid-step from the kitchen, dish towel clutched against her chest. Luca, thankfully, is not upstairs. I step between my brother and my parents, arms loose at my sides. He's sleeping. Brandon shoves past me into the living room. Pack his stuff. We're leaving. No, you're not. The steadiness surprises even me. He whirls, nostrils flaring. He's my kid. A kid you abandoned on the doorstep with nothing but a note. I glance at my parents, expecting them to undermine me, as they always have. Instead, Dad moves to stand beside me. Mom follows, her spine straighter than I've seen in years. Brandon's eyes widen slightly at our united front. He hadn't expected this. You can't just disappear for half a year and waltz back in, Dad says, voice rough with emotion. That's not how this works anymore. Brandon paces like he used to before his teenage explosions. I needed time to get my head straight. I'm back now. Problem solved. I open my messenger bag and pull out a folder. 6 months of careful documentation spread across the coffee table, bank statements, court records, photographs of the squalid conditions Luca was living in before he was abandoned, the pathetic note left with him. Let me walk you through what your time to get your head straight cost this family. I point to each document methodically. $3,000 to resolve the unpaid utility bills at your house. $1,700 for back child support Tiffany claimed you never paid. $4,000 in legal fees to establish temporary guardianship. Brandon's face reddens. I didn't ask for any of that. You never do ask, you just take. I tap a photograph of Luca from his first week here, underweight, shadows beneath his eyes. This is what your son looked like when he arrived. He had 2 outfits that fit. No toys, no books. Mom steps forward. You didn't even leave his favorite blanket, Brandon. My brother's jaw works silently. He tries another angle. Remember when we built that treehouse and Dad got so mad because we used his good saw? His laugh sounds forced. You were always covering for me, Maddie. What happened to you? I grew up. You always thought you were better than everyone else. I fold my hands in my lap. Not better, just responsible for my own choices. The words land like a physical blow. He stares at me, really seeing me for perhaps the first time. I'm not the pushover little sister anymore. 3 years ago, you took my entire future. My voice doesn't waver. $14,000 I earned serving burgers to people who treated me like dirt. Money that was supposed to be for my education. Dad winces visibly. Mom's eyes fill with tears. We're sorry, Madeline, Dad says, the apology I never thought I'd hear. We should never have given your money away. Brandon's gaze darts between us, sensing the shift. So that's it? You're choosing over your own son? This isn't about choosing sides, Mom says. It's about what's best for Luca. Dad squares his shoulders. If you want to be part of Luca's life, there are conditions. Regular visitation, not whenever you feel like showing up. Drug tests, a steady job, a suitable living arrangement, and therapist appointments, Mom adds, her voice firmer than I've ever heard it. You need help, Brandon. Real help, not just promises. My brother's face contorts. You can't keep my kid from me. I have rights. Rights you abandoned on the doorstep, I remind him. The court date is next Wednesday. The judge will decide Luca's permanent guardianship. You're welcome to make your case then. The fight drains from him suddenly, replaced by the manipulative charm I know too well. Come on, Maddie. We're family. You know how much that little guy means to me. I do know, I say quietly. That's exactly why I'm standing here. The family court is smaller than I imagined, wood-paneled and smelling faintly of lemon polish. Luca sits with a court-appointed advocate in a waiting room with toy trucks and picture books. When the judge calls me to testify, I speak clearly about my parents' devotion to their grandson through preschool research, the pediatrician visits, the nightlight shaped like a dinosaur because Luca fears the dark. I describe my own role as the aunt who reads Saturday morning stories and helps with bath time when I visit. And your relationship with the child's father? The judge peers over reading glasses. He's my brother. I want him to be part of Luca's life when he's healthy enough to be a positive presence. Brandon stares at the table throughout my testimony. When the judge grants my parents primary guardianship with supervised visitation rights for Brandon, he doesn't protest. Outside the courtroom, my brother catches my arm. You think you won, don't you? This wasn't about winning. I gently remove his hand. It was about Luca having stability. He shakes his head. You'll never forgive me for taking your money. I study his face, the same jawline as mine, the same stubborn set to his mouth. Forgiveness isn't something you're owed, Brandon. It's something you earn. He walks away without responding. I watch him go, wondering if some betrayals leave permanent scars, whether acknowledged or not. Is forgiveness possible without an apology? When someone betrays your trust but never truly acknowledges it, can you move forward? I'd love to hear from those who face this difficult choice. The spring breeze carries the scent of fresh-cut grass across the university quad as I adjust my cap. 2 years of night classes, weekend study sessions, and careful budgeting have led to this moment. Aunt Maddie, look at me! Luca's voice cuts through the murmur of the crowd. He waves frantically from his perch on Dad's shoulders, his tie already loosened and crooked. I scan the sea of faces until I spot them. Mom clutching flowers, Dad beaming with Luca bouncing above him. Their eyes hold something I haven't seen in years. Genuine pride that isn't tangled with expectation. The dean reads my name. Madeline Blake, Bachelor of Education, summa cum laude. My fingers tremble slightly as I accept my diploma. I've done this on my own terms. Later, at the small Italian restaurant off campus, Luca smashes his spaghetti with methodical determination, while Mom watches him with the vigilance of someone who's learned hard lessons about attention. We have something for you, Dad says, sliding an envelope across the checkered tablecloth. My guard rises automatically. Old habits die hard, but when I open it, I find a card with a key taped inside. What's this? The house sold last month, Mom explains. We put half in a trust for Luca's education, with you as co-trustee. Her eyes meet mine, acknowledging the significance. The other half is yours. The gesture doesn't erase the past, but it acknowledges it. That's enough for now. Sunday dinners become our ritual. I arrive at 5, help with cooking, and leave by 8. My apartment 20 minutes away is small but entirely mine, close enough for Luca but far enough to breathe. Can I show Aunt Maddie my bank book? Luca asks one Sunday, breadcrumbs clinging to his chin. Mom nods. Go get it from the desk. They ask me about investments now, Dad says quietly once Luca scampers off. Figure you're the only one who's proven they know what to do with money. The words matter more than the late acknowledgement. Brandon appears occasionally like a storm that never quite makes landfall. His supervised visits with Luca happen at the community center, and I make myself scarce those days. His sobriety comes and goes like seasons, but my boundaries stand firm as stone walls. I can forgive without becoming vulnerable again. Quarters are worth 25 cents. I explained to Luca at the kitchen table, arranging coins in neat rows. How many make $1? His small fingers push 4 quarters together. 4! That's right. And where does money go when we want to save it? He points to the blue ceramic piggy bank we painted together last month. In Mr. Oink. Mom watches from the doorway, something unspoken passing between us. She sees me teaching him what they should have taught me. Will you help me count my money, Aunt Maddie? Luca asks, his innocent question bridging past and future. Always. I promise. My new office at the university still smells of fresh paint. Assistant Professor Blake, says the nameplate. The window overlooks the same quad where I received my diploma. On my desk sits a framed photo of Luca flanked by Mom, Dad, and me at his 6th birthday. Beside it stands a mason jar labeled House Fund in my precise handwriting, containing the first installment of my savings. I run my fingers over the smooth glass, remembering the leather notebook Grandpa gave me and all the lessons since. Family isn't about blind sacrifice, it's about helping each other grow in the right direction. We're learning together, one Sunday dinner at a time.